I'm Rachel Lamontagne. I just recently graduated Unity College back in May, and I did my internship at the Zoo and Forest Park. So a little bit about the Zoo and Forest Park. It's a small zoo in Springfield, Massachusetts, and it's located in Forest Park. So my learning objectives for this internship was to learn the daily tasks a zookeeper needs to do in order to provide care for their animals, to extend my knowledge of animal training, to extend my knowledge of public speaking, to better understand the processes of record keeping, and also to expand upon my knowledge of working with hoofstock and primates. I was able to accomplish the first, the third, and the fourth. I didn't really do too much animal training during my internship, though I did a little bit with the birds, and I didn't work with any primates, pretty much. That was pretty much just the animal care staff. So my job at the zoo pretty much constituted cleaning, lots and lots of cleaning, and also a bit of diet preparation for birds and reptiles, and mostly feeding, watering, and also a little bit with public interactions, mostly just answering people's questions that they have, either about the zoo or the animals, or whatever they can come up with. So my schedule from day to day pretty much changed a lot. This is just a few of my schedules that I had for one day. I usually always have like some sort of hoofstock type of thing, and usually the birds are on my list. But apart from that, I had a lot of variety from day to day. So the areas I worked were mostly the hoofstock, backyard, outback, barn rooms, reptile rooms, bird rooms, and the cabbies, cranes, capybaras, and the four windows. So starting with the hoofstock, it's always the first thing that's done on anybody's list, and it gets broken down into 5 different sections, such as the barn, the corral, the llamas, alpacas, camels, donkeys, and the muntjac deer. So starting with the barn, it has the mini horses, the mini donkeys, the sheep, the goats, and the pigs. Now the sheep and the goats usually alternated between being in the barn or going out into the corral. Like usually once a month we switched out who was in the corral and who was in the barn. And for this, pretty much it's just giving hay twice a day. They get hay in the morning and hay at night. They get fresh water in the morning and they get more at night if they need it. And cleaning out every single stall every single day. So it takes a while to do. Next is the corral, which has cows, sheep, and goats. So like I said, the sheep and the goats usually alternated between either being in the barn or the corral. So again, just like in the barn, it's a lot of cleaning out the stalls. So there was 3 different stalls that had to get cleaned out pretty much every day, and also the pastures, inside, in between the stalls had to get raked as well. And the cows were not very helpful in this process. The cows pretty much usually always got in the way, either wanting to lick your arms or legs or steal your shovel or rake, or they will tip over your wheelbarrow, which happened quite frequently, thus making you start over in the entire process. The llamas and alpacas are actually pretty easy. They're one of the easier ones. They get hay twice a day, just like everybody else here, but they have a communal bathroom pile that they go into, so you only have one pile you have to clean up in their entire area, which makes it very easy to clean. The camels and donkeys is very similar to the barn, where you have to clean out the 2 houses, which don't always need to get full cleaned, but most of the time the camels do, just because they're very large and very messy. And their yards always have to get raked. But just like in the corral with the cows, Max, who is the one-humped camel right there, he likes to play with wheelbarrows, and he will dump your wheelbarrow and then proceed to just lay in it or lay on it and roll it around and just have a great time playing with your wheelbarrow as you try to get it away from him, which is not easy. The muntjac are very easy. They have 2 houses that usually only need to get cleaned out maybe once a month. They'll get full cleaned out, but most of the time they go outside. So it's just a lot of little raking here and there in the outside area. The one cool thing that did happen while I was interning was one of the females actually had a baby. So the baby is shown right here. So she's about 3 months old now, so she's almost fully grown. And she was just really fun to work with while I was there, because she was kind of friendly when she was first born, mostly because she didn't really know us, but she kind of took on her mother's personality a bit and became a little bit more shy and flighty and runs away now, but that was pretty interesting. So next we have the outback, which has the wallabies, the gray kangaroos, emus, and chickens and turkeys. So here you just have to, it's mostly just raking out the houses, cleaning up any old hay, putting down fresh hay, raking out the yards, and giving them food and water. Which, for the wallabies and kangaroos, is pretty easy since they have a small bucket and their food dishes are always prepared, but for the chickens and the emus, you have to carry over 2 to 3 buckets of water for the emus, and you have to fill up the water dishes for the chickens as well. And you have to put together like a special ratite diet for the emus, which usually consists of just grain and chicken scratch. And then you have to, basically you have to try and keep the chickens away from your wheelbarrow as you go through the exhibit, because they will jump into it and mess up anything you have in there. They will just kick out. And you have to keep watching out for Richard, who is the rooster pictured right here, because he is not a very friendly rooster. The first time I met him, he ran after me and kicked me in the leg and actually put a puncture wound into my calf, which hurt a lot and it bled a little bit, so that was an unfortunate accident that happened with Richard. So the backyard includes a lot of animals that are found in North America and is divided into 3 sections: the porcupine, hawk, skunk, bobcats, eagles, foxes, and raccoons, which only the zookeepers did, and the barred owls and wolves, which, again, the zookeepers only did the wolves, but I got a chance to work with the barred owls. So these guys, starting with the porcupine, they're all pretty easy. It's just mostly picking up their old food from the day before, and giving them their fresh food. But with Porkchop here, it can be a little bit tricky to actually get into his exhibit, since he likes to pace in front of the door when he knows you're there. And if you open the door before you get him away from the door, he'll try to get out, which obviously would not be very good, and we'd have a porcupine running loose, which most guests don't like. So my way of getting him away from the door is just to lure him away with a piece of food, and just like trying to move him along the side of the fence, just trying to get him either over the door, or I'll try to make him climb the fence, which is a lot easier for me to get in if he's climbing the fence. Then I give him the food and then quickly run over and unlock the door and unlatch it and give him the rest of his food, which keeps him away as I'm cleaning. So then you just have to refill all their waters and spot clean as need. Porkchop here is a rather lazy porcupine as well, because there was a few times when he was up in his house and he decided he didn't really want to climb down for his food. He'd rather have me just hand him food. Which, he was a very lazy porcupine that day. So this is Hannibal, the red